Good evening and welcome to tonight's meeting of the Major Applications Planning Committee. I'm Councillor Roger Labour, the Committee Chairman, as well as those small number of people who have an interest in that in person. Of course, tonight's meeting is on YouTube. Can I do apologies for absence first, please?
None, Chairman.
That's good. Any declarations of interest? No? The minutes of the previous meeting held 12th of May are in the bundle. Can I take those as accurate, please? Thank you. In addition to the formal agenda that was published, there is an agenda item B, which was a late item I have taken on grounds of urgency, so that is also on tonight's agenda. All items are in part one. We have no petitions. So there are no speakers tonight at all. If we have a fire alarm, the fire exits are over there and behind me, and we will be assuming it's for real because no tests are planned. Could I please also ask that all mobile phones are now switched off or at least to silent? I think everyone's got used to the idea now that when you speak, the microphones need to catch it because otherwise it doesn't come out on the audio for us. And I will therefore move into, we've got a whole series of presenters tonight, so I'm not sure who's going to do what, but we'll work that out as we go. Can I please take item 6, land ease to the former EMI site 120 Blythe Road, Hayes? You're starting us off.
Yeah. Thank you, Chairman. Item 6 on the agenda is an application to vary and remove conditions attached to the previously approved gatefold development on Blythe Road. The original consent was for a building of between 4 and 7 stories in height, providing 132 residential units, a cafe, community room and 5 workshop units. The construction of the development is well underway, and the variation of the conditions will allow trigger points for the information required for the discharge of certain conditions to be altered. It is important that members are aware that officers have already indicated they will be happy with the condition discharge details had the developer progressed with the approved scheme. The proposal includes amending the approved plans to replace the originally consented community room with a residential unit. The Section 106 agreement attached to the original consent allowed for a payment of £30,000 to be provided in lieu of the community room. This payment has been made to the council, and as such the applicant is proposing to replace the community room with a residential unit. It is also proposed to amend the wording of some of the conditions to ensure they are completed in accordance with previously approved details, to remove duplicated conditions and alter or remove conditions that refer to the community room. So I can take members through the plans. This is the location plan for the site. Here you can see the constraints for the development, and here you can see it in relation to the old vinyl factory site. It's to the east of that wider site. This is the plan that shows the new residential units in replacing the community room. If I can just point it out using the laser, it's this unit here in the corner that will be the new residential unit. There's also a minor change to the balustrade details, which will replace timber balustrade with the glass balustrade. So the elevations, I'll just go through and quickly show where those balustrades are. These are the ones that I mentioned. So there's an aerial view, and finally the photos will allow members to see how far the development has progressed up to this point. The principle of the development was approved under the original consent, and the loss of the community room is deemed acceptable in principle as part of the Section 106 agreement. Members will note that the addendum includes the text of the heads of term previously approved by Planning Committee. The minor external changes to the balustrades are deemed minimal and will not have a detrimental impact on the character and appearance of the building. The new residential unit will provide acceptable levels of residential amenity in terms of floor space, outlook and daylight. The Council's highway engineers reviewed the scheme and raised no objections to the proposal. Likewise, no objections have been received in relation to access. For the reasons summarised, it is recommended that approval should be granted. Thank you, Chairman.
There is an addendum on this item which varies very slightly some of the words of some of the conditions, so I'd ask committee to note, please. Yes. Who wants to take me out on this one? That is straightforward. Councillor Duncan?
Ask, it says that they did look at the requirements for community use. As we know, community facilities are disappearing as we speak. And so I'd just like to know what sort of work was done to show that this wasn't needed.
The applicant looked into the surrounding site. They talked to tenants in adjacent buildings, and they decided that because there was the shared space within the development, they thought a community use would be underused. The Section 106 for the outline consent, for the original consent, did give them the option whether or not to provide the community use, and they've chosen not to do that.
Hopefully they would. I mean, it depends how that condition was worded. How much in terms of communal area for people to meet? I mean, say, for example, there was an issue and they wanted to meet about that.
The particular reason we put in the addendum, the exact text that was in the 2011 Planning Committee report, is that, just to clarify, this was absolutely transparent in the head of term at the front of the 2011 committee report that 30,000 was an option. It's not something that subsequently was altered by officers or put in the small print of the Section 106 agreement. And there is another community facility if you go over the bridge past the station, quite between the station and the Asda site. There's the one near Nestle's Children's Centre. So there is a community centre nearby. I think it's also partly because at 92 square metres, there was always an issue because of the relatively small size, whether it was actually going to be much use as a community centre, because obviously the one just off Nestles Avenue is a much larger floor space.
Councillor Edwards.
Mr. Chairman, I do share the concern around the loss of community space. However, it's very clear that the principle is established and the agreement allows the choice. That being the case, and all other issues there, I see nothing wrong with the application before us, and I support the officer's recommendation and move accordingly.
Okay, it's been proposed and seconded. Can I have a clear show of hands to approve the report? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And
I'm abstaining because, if you remember, I voted against this originally because of the air quality.
can I take item 7, please? Unit 1, Ventura House, Ballsbrook Road, Hay. Can you just pull it closer? I don't know how strong your voice is, but...
Okay, thank you, Chairman.
Oh,
I've got 2. Brilliant. Can you really hear me now? Thank you, Chairman. Item 7, Ventura House, Ballsbrook Road, Hayes. The application seeks full planning permission for the erection of a 3-storey extension on the northern elevation of the existing commercial building. The extension proposed will provide approximately 849 square metres of ancillary office space and 1,190 square metres of warehouse space. The extension would be approximately 20 metres in length, 13.5 metres in width and 13.4 metres in height. I'll just take the members through the drawings. Bear with me. Site location plan with the site here, obviously, and another one. Existing site plan. This plan here, the proposed block plan, shows the existing warehouse in this location and the proposed extension to the north here. Some more proposed floor plans, existing floor plans, first floor plan, second floor plan, and some existing elevation and proposed elevations, existing sections and proposed sections, and a bird's eye view of the current site, and the extension will be going in here, and some site photographs that just give you some flavour of what the site looks like. In terms of the principle of development, the site falls within the Springfield Road Industrial and Business Area. These locations are appropriate for accommodating employment-generating uses, and council policies seek to ensure that these areas remain in such use. Given that the proposed unit will remain in B8 use, and that the works are necessary to support the continued employment use on the site. No objection is raised in principle to the extension. In terms of the character and appearance of the area, the proposal is considered acceptable in terms of its bulk, scale and design, and is not considered to have a detrimental impact on the character and appearance of the industrial area. In terms of traffic and parking, the proposed extension is to be situated over part of the existing car park. However, sufficient car parking spaces will be retained on site. No objection is therefore raised in this regard. Members' attention is drawn to condition 5, the construction management plan. This condition has been added to ensure that the existing use on the site and surrounding highway network would be able to function during the construction of the extension, as the works would occupy the existing car park. Therefore, for the reasons summarised, it is recommended that the application be granted. Thank you, Chairman.
Who wants to start off this one? Councillor Duncan, then Councillor Morgan.
Well, providing there's adequate servicing and parking for the extended unit, I think there's nothing wrong with it, and I would move officer's recommendation.
What Councillor Morgan's got to add?
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. My usual gripe is motorcycle bays. Doesn't seem to be anything there for motorcyclists.
We can add.
We can add that.
Would you happy to delegate authority to me? We've got 41 car parking spaces. We normally do one motorcycle space per 20. So if we had two motorcycle spaces, that shouldn't be a problem accommodating that on this site.
So Duncan, I presume will be happy with that change to the report. We have a proposal that to accept the officer report as now amended.
Very happy to say.
Right. All those in favour, please clearly show. Unanimously approved. Thank you very much. I now move to item 8, Unit A, Ballsbridge Centre, North Hyde Gardens, Hayes.
Thank you, Chairman. The application seeks full planning permission for the installation of internal mezzanine levels within an existing industrial building, together with the provision of an external vehicle access ramp to the rear of the building to service first and second floor levels. The proposals also involve the demolition of ancillary structures and their replacement with car wash apparatus, triage, security gatehouse and ancillary portable cabins, coupled with alterations to the existing parking layouts within the site. I'll just take members through the drawings. So you can see that's the site, the constraints plan, the site location plan, which shows the site in the wider area. We have an existing servicing plan. This is the proposed ground floor layout plan. It's a little bit faint, but you can see the parking arrangements with disabled parking just here. This shows the first floor mezzanine within the building here, with the ramp from the outside, and that's the ramp leading up to the second floor mezzanine level. Second floor layout, got existing elevations, proposed elevations, which you'll see don't change all that much. Some more elevations and sections, and that's the proposed porter cabins on the site. Some more detail of the security gatehouse, and an aerial view of the site there. In terms of the principle of development, the site is a designated strategic industrial location within the London Plan and an industrial and business area within the local plan. Policy seeks to retain B1C, B2 and B8 uses in such locations. The proposals do not constitute a change of use, with the site remaining in a B2, B8 use. In light of the above mentioned considerations, no objections are raised to the principle of the development. In terms of traffic and parking, the proposed development provides sufficient car parking spaces. In addition, 10 cycle parking spaces have been proposed, which is a shortfall of 2 spaces. The shortfall is, however, minimal, and the implementation of the travel plan through to Section 106 would identify if additional visitor cycle spaces were needed in the longer term. In terms of traffic impact of the proposed scheme, it is considered that the nature of the proposed use, together with the controls on the manner the applicant is to use the site, which will be secured by conditions, will, in combination with the £30,000 Section 106 contribution towards highway improvements, help to minimise increases in traffic and congestion. No objection is therefore raised in this regard. Just draw your attention to the addendum, if I may. Comments have now been received from TfL, confirming that all outstanding issues have been addressed by the applicant. Therefore, there is no longer a requirement for a condition requiring details of the disabled parking bays, as these have actually been shown on the plans. Therefore, for the reasons summarised, it is recommended that approval should be granted. Thank you, Chairman.
Who wants to start? Me, Councillor Edwards, then Councillor Oswald, and then Councillor Duncan.
Two quick issues, if I may. Firstly, with regards to air quality, recognising that this is in an area of poor air quality, what consideration has been given to the management of fumes from within the building, which is going to be servicing a substantial number of vehicles with a workforce of over 100 people and 250 vehicles in there? That was number one. And number two was just assurance or reassurance that the water waste from vehicle cleaning is going to be treated as foul, not surface. Thank you.
If I just go to the first point, sorry, I'll go to the air quality. Sorry, yes, I forgot already. In terms of the air quality, you will see that there is a Section 106 obligation. Let me just find it. It's number 3. The air quality strategy to be secured, that includes a low emissions fleet management plan. That will entail all. We can amend that, perhaps amend the head of term to include details of how the building would operate, because I'm not sure whether that has entirely been addressed. However, if you look at the low emission strategy, the main thrust of it is to have Euro 6 cars, and there will be low emission cars in the long run.
Thank you. I mean, that is appreciated. I do believe we should have some form of control of emissions from the building, from the servicing of vehicles from within it.
I'll hold that and just wait for either the legal officer or the head of planning to either whether we're going to the S106 or whether we're going condition on that, but I'll move on with the debate. I won't. Sorry, you raised a second point, Councillor.
The drainage.
Waste.
Yeah.
The waste.
Water waste is foul, not surface.
The drainage issues were looked through by the flood risk officer. The site drains into existing drainage, which is off-site. It's Thames water drainage, and the flood risk officer has confirmed that she is happy with the proposals, which will plug into the existing systems. There's no proposed changes.
I understand. My concern is that car washing can end up in surface water discharge, and the surface water, as I read this report at the moment, goes into a river, and that for me is a concern if it is not been in some way cleansed, separated or dealt with.
I'll hold that thought and just move. Councillor Oswald, I'm not going to lose that one because I've...
Yes, thank you very much, Chairman. I like the idea of the shuttle bus from Hayes and Harlington Station. Is that going to be in perpetuity, or is this just going to be a short-term usage? And I have another couple of issues as well.
My understanding is it will be for the lifetime of the development.
Does the condition actually say that, which I suspect is where the councillor's going?
Yes, thank you very much. If I've missed that, I apologise.
No, I didn't. I don't know if it is, but I suspect that's what we were looking for. And I must admit, I'm struggling to see it for a moment, but go on. I'll look for it while you raise your...
Okay, thanks very much. 4,000 vehicles, that's an awful lot of vehicles. Is there any projected vehicle movement figures at all per day? Because North Hyde Gardens, I think there's 6 houses as you go into North Hyde Gardens. After that, it's purely industrial. So once you pass those houses, then... it's okay. It doesn't really matter too much other than the air quality, but that's an awful lot of vehicles and an awful lot of vehicle movements, because there are other there are other companies in there that have vehicle movements daily, and I believe that some of them are 7 days a week, like Conways, for instance, to do road resurfacing plus other works at all. Basically, North Hyde Gardens is on a hide into nothing, I think. So, is there any projected vehicle movements? Thank you.
Yes, Chairman. From a traffic point of view, our main concern is peak hour traffic. And this is why we've asked for a contribution of £30,000, because this particular development cannot support large-scale highway works. The reason being, to mitigate the impacts of the development, you'd either need to widen the bridge on North Hyde Road or the Bulls Bridge roundabout. Now, the Bulls Bridge roundabout is going to be improved as part of the Southall Gasworks development. So this is why a contribution of £30,000 is being accepted to identify any other works in the area other than these two major works.
Thank you very much. I have something else as well, Chairman.
Go on.
As far as the bridge is concerned in North Hyde Road, we've been there before some years ago. That cannot be widened for some reason. I'm not sure why. I can't remember the reasons why, but we were told by officers that can't be widened. So I'd be interested to see how that's going to pan out. There's another issue from North Hyde Gardens. Numbers of vehicles that come out of there are supposed to turn left. If they want to go right, they're supposed to go around the roundabout and come back up North Hyde Road, but they don't. I'm afraid they turn right out of there by swinging left and then going round the island, and that is dangerous. At one time we had the island elongated with a Section 106 money, but it's still not enough because it's still going on. I would like to see that island extended even further by at least another 8 or 9 metres. Thank you, Chairman. That's all I've got.
If I can just come back on a few points. I think the point about the bus for the staff, and that's very easy through a planning condition to tie that one down. On the on the drainage matter, we do have a SUDS condition 6, and the intention of that was to sweep up the issues that hadn't already been covered. So without having the Flood and Water Management Officer here, I wouldn't know 100% whether that would or wouldn't completely cover the point that you're making, but it would seem to me that if you gave me delegated authority to liaise with the Flood and Water Management Officer and do any amendments necessary to that condition, that one way or another that would cover the point.
6 needs to go back in then.
That would be acceptable.
The point that you're raising.
We then have the traffic and servicing plan issues that have come out of Councillor Oswald's question. Volume of vehicle movements, and the North Hyde Road. Yeah, that's where you were, wasn't it? It's whether that S106 needs a tweak. Air quality is the one that we need to come back on. Air quality, it does. I think it probably needs a tweak on air quality as to whether it reflects what's going on inside the building, which was the councillor's concern.
Yeah, if I can comment on the air quality matter. So we normally through the Section 106 do the air quality impacts outside of the envelope of the site, if that makes sense. So it's probably a planning condition matter, because this is, it's more, without getting too technical, it's the kind of thing our environmental protection unit look at rather than specifically the air quality officer. The air quality officer tends to look at the more strategic things, and I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Councillor, you were looking at how within the building how the building functions itself, so that it's a modern building, basically.
There's two ways, my understanding. Often they exhaust by tube straight out into the air, and that means that you could have cars running, exhausting out of the building. So working within the building's fine, but outside you've got a problem. My issue is how do you control emissions from the building, because emissions within it will be picked up under health and safety, I presume.
I think it wouldn't be a one head of term. I think it would be a planning condition.
I think we had a planning condition that they
basically
explain how they're going to do it.
Worded via our environmental protection unit rather than the air quality officer, because it's about environmental protection.
We then got the issue about the potential number of vehicle movements coming in and out, and is that picked up by... Will the transport assessments and all the travel plan pick that lot up or not? I'll leave the head of planning have a think. Sorry, I've got Councillor Duncan.
I think, correct me if I'm saying wrong, I think it's not so much that was answered, it was the question is that can that island be extended, part of the 106 agreement?
Chairman. There is actually a banned right turn from North Hyde Gardens into North Hyde Road. I agree with the councillor, it's being misused because there is no enforcement. And one of the ways of resolving that would be by extending an island. But whether it is possible physically to do that or not, I don't know. But it is an existing problem, and should a need arise, the £30,000 contribution could be used partly to address that.
Are we saying that needs to be picked up elsewhere? Effectively. It's a known problem, so it needs to be raised in other forums. Is that where we are? As to whether it's technically possible to do it.
I think what Madam's saying in a roundabout way is it's not a problem that's being created specifically by this development proposal. It's an existing issue which does affect whether we can ask the developer to completely fund addressing the issue. So it might be more of an issue that the council's lip funding deals with, or it deals with its general highways budget.
I was going to say one for Councillor Burrows. I was heading in that direction myself. Councillor Higgins?
I tend to disagree with officers on that. I think because of the vehicle movement of this particular development, I think we're well within our 106 agreement to say that's extension.
If it's physically possible, and that's what we don't know.
Unfortunately, Councillor, I don't agree with that.
Oh.
I think we need to be very careful. We have a contribution here that's going to be used to assess and to look at the problems that the development's going to cause and to take a more strategic approach to this. But using the funding particularly for the extension, if it's even possible, I don't think you can require that specifically under this head of term. I think this is for a matter outside of the planning committee in this particular application, and that's where we find ourselves today with that, unfortunately. But it's raised, it's noted, and it can be carried forward outside of the meeting.
I would suggest the highway matter goes to the cabinet member for transport and let him work on it. Hopefully we find a solution that way. It obviously is a problem that needs an answer.
Well, if I could,
Councillor Duncan, Sorry, Councillor Oswald.
Thank you, Chairman. Sorry about that. My concern is that 4,000 vehicles, they're not all going to move at once, obviously, but 4,000 vehicles of this type, no disrespect to any cab driver, but I know what they're like. And they will come out of there and they'll U-turn. It's the size of vehicle that's able to do that. The eight-wheelers that come out of Conways with all tarmac and asphalt on the back, they're not able to do that. That's right. Nor do the vehicles that are being repaired by the Volvo workshops. They're not able to do that either. These vehicles will be, and it's going to exacerbate the problem. That's my concern. I understand what you're saying, Nicole, and I appreciate what you say, but yes, I'm quite happy to leave it to Councillor Burrows to see what he can do. But it does need addressing, Chairman. Thank you.
I think it needs noting and passing back, and then we'll work on it from there. Councillor Duncan did raise her hand a long time ago in this debate, and I don't want to forget that.
Thank you very much, Chair. I was just going to ask about landscaping along the canal frontage. I know this is fairly tight to that, and we try to use all opportunities when there's development on the canal frontage. I see that there is a condition, and also in the report.
If I've read it correctly.
I know. It does say it's considered that an existing vegetation buffer along the towpath coupled with the railway line located to the immediate right mitigate for the visual impact. So presumably that will be protected, but the proposed car wash is quite close to this boundary, and I wondered if maybe that needs to move slightly in order to facilitate that. Presumably that would emerge from landscaping details.
If I c- the nature of this development is I don't think there'll be any benefit asking for soft landscaping because they're using up every inch of the site. So it's all about retaining the existing landscape buffer along the canal edge. So the only additional condition that might apply is whether we had protective fencing along inside the site.
And we have got boundary
during any construction works.
Do we need to have something that says protection of soft landscaping then? Because it doesn't say that.
Because it's particularly during construction, isn't it?
It says details of hard landscaping, and then over here, hard surfacing materials. There's nothing about... You might be able to extend some of the vegetation, that's all. And put... But down, can you see where it's on the canal side, next to the towpath? On the
pretty well go along there, or not?
On the layout here,
yeah.
They're removing a sprinkler tank and pump room because they'll be non-operational. So there'll be some area in there that no, the car wash is going further down. It's going down there. So there is an opportunity for some soft landscaping. I think it's on this plan on one.
I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll put 1H on condition 7 as soft landscaping, and then officers can review what's possible. I don't think it's going to be a lot, but we'll see what's possible.
No, it's not a lot. But this is going in here. This is being removed. So there's an area here, and there's also an area behind here.
Well, if we ask them to have a look, then we'll.
So this area is not.
We'll see what we can get.
If we include it, then it gives that option.
Councillor Morgan, you were my last on this one, I think.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Just a quick one. For people who work there who travel by motorbike.
Well, they're taxi drivers, though. Yeah, Councillor Higgins, did you have a view on bike?
I just think we should have electrical charging points rather than spaces for motorbikes, so we can use electric cars rather than keep going on about this. The size of the engine some of these bikes have are bigger than some cars, which pollute more to think just for a little space.
We're not doing that debate tonight, please. Car park layouts are not in this, are they? Because they're already okay, aren't they? They're not. There's nothing. We've got nothing on car parking here anyway. That's why I wasn't in there. Are there electric vehicle charging points shown? Question. That's a horrible one to ask, I know. They're probably not. I'm sure the council would have spotted them if they were.
We can certainly ensure that the usual 1 to 20 ratio we have the motorcycles. Anything that was slightly throwing me in the electric charging is TfL would always raise a concern if there wasn't electric charging points.
And they haven't.
And they haven't, which makes me think that
they were there.
Although it's very small scale to see on the plans, that they're all ready. But if you're happy to delegate for me to check,
we will delegate to you.
I'd be amazed if TfL didn't raise a concern if there wasn't electric charging points.
Well, yeah, it is unusual because they normally pick it up. So, and that's okay. I've got on this one. I've got generally we're comfortable. I've got that we need a condition. We're delegating to the head of planning to add the condition to make sure the staff bus remains in existence. We're putting back condition 6 on the drainage to make sure the foul drainage is properly sorted. A new condition on air quality to make sure it doesn't all just go straight in the atmosphere. Adding in the relevant number of motorcycle spaces, confirming electric vehicle charging points are in, and if not, amending conditions appropriately. And we've also amended condition 7 to add soft landscaping. That's my list.
Can I go back on one point?
Go.
Sorry, can I
I've got soft landscaping to be reviewed on there.
If I can just come back on, my only concern would be that the Flood and Water Management Officer, who has said she's happy with the scheme, says there isn't a need to bring condition 6 back, and then we'd be adding a condition that. So my preference is that I liaise with the Flood and Water Management Officer, highlighting Councillor Edwards' concerns, and then. If necessary, we then bring the condition back.
James, I'm happy with that revision. If you are satisfied that it's been properly dealt with, that's good enough for us, I think.
Yeah, that's a grey water condition, isn't it? This wasn't about foul sewage.
She does say in total she's happy with the overall plan she's seen. So I think if we delegate, to be fair to the Flood and Water Management, she's normally pretty strong on her stuff. So if I could suggest that if we agree that the head of planning liaises with her and confirms that the concerns raised about foul water and the car washing that is definitely going to foul water have been addressed appropriately and not with it going in the river. And if we're happy with that, no more conditions. And if it turns out there is a little bit of a grey issue there somewhere, then condition goes back. Well, I thought I'd try a little tonight. I've got soft landscaping plan added to condition 7. Huh?
Sorry, we need to add the protection of existing as well, because that's a separate.
You can incorporate that in the same wording.
But we need to add that. It's just the way we structure these, they are separate.
Yeah. Okay. Good. I think we're done with that one. A proposal to take me forward, please. Thank you, Councillor Higgins. A seconder. Thank you, Councillor Morgan. All those in favour, please clearly show. That's unanimously approved. Thank you very much. I now move to St Andrews Park, Hillingdon Road. This was the one where plans were circulated. There were no plans in the plan pack, for those of you who were very observant. Lovely CGIs, though. And have we got hard copies of those plans somewhere in the... Members should have had them from their pigeonhole, so if they haven't, please shout. No? Yes? I've seen them online, but I didn't get a hard copy. Has everybody seen a hard copy? I didn't get one in my pigeonhole. Right, whoever's presenting, if you'd like to kick this one off, because it is a site we know rather well.
Thank you, Chairman. Item 9 on the agenda is an application to discharge reserved matters for Phase 4 of the St Andrews Park development. Members will be familiar with the St Andrews Park scheme, for which outline consent was granted in 2010 for a residential-led mixed-use development. The proposed scheme would provide 85 residential units, including 41 flats and 44 houses. We'll go through the plans now, so you'll get a chance to look at them. This is the location plan. The site constraints plan. Members will notice the extent of the green belt and the location of the former rifle range building. Here's an illustrative site plan setting out the layout. Members will notice the crescent adjacent to the district park. It's the floor plan for the apartment buildings. It's the house type locations, and then we've got a lot of plans that show the different house types proposed. These are the CGIs which members have already seen. Hopefully they convey the quality of the proposal put forward. Got some street elevations. And then the bird's eye view. And this is the site as it is at the moment, not much work on this element, but to the south there's been previous residential phases that are already coming forward. The principle of the proposal, including the proposed residential use on this site, was considered and approved as part of the original consent. 135 car parking spaces are provided, 1 each allocated to the flats and 2 each to the houses, which accords with parking standards. 6 additional spaces are provided for visitors. In terms of access, all of the proposed units have been designed for lifetime home standards. In addition, 10% of the dwellings across the reserved matters phase will be wheelchair accessible in accordance with policy. The Council's Access Officer has raised no objection to the proposals. In addition, no objections have been raised in terms of security, landscaping or sustainability. The design of the proposals is contemporary and deemed to be of a high quality, welcome within the wider site and in particular adjacent to the new district park. There are ongoing discussions with the Council's Flood and Water Management Officer. However, the issues raised are covered by Condition 68 of the outline consent. Members will note the addendum includes an additional informative advising the applicant of the need to conform with this condition. With regards to amenity space provision, 50 of the 85 units will have 100% of the amenity space required, including almost all the family-sized dwellings not located in the new crescent. The dwellings in the crescent will have between 75% and 80% of the amenity space required. However, these properties face directly onto the large new district park. Whilst any shortfall in provision is regrettable, it is considered that location of the site adjacent to the pocket park and the district park results in the proposal being acceptable. It is worth noting that a minor shortfall in external amenity provision has been accepted in earlier phases. There's one other addendum, which is an additional consultee response from the Council's housing team, agreeing to the proposed 10% affordable housing provision. Therefore, for the reasons summarised, it is recommended that approval should be granted. Thank you, Chairman.
Who wants to start me off on this one? Something we are familiar with. Councillor Higgins. Thank you. Before I do you have an issue, Councillor?
Yes, I just wanted to ask when the green belt will be laid out and this district park will be laid out. Do we know the time frame for that?
The time frame for the handover of the district park is going to be potentially later this year or early next year. However, there are discussions ongoing at the moment with works to the district park to make sure that it's in line with what the council would like.
So it's going to be properly phased. I don't want to just build all these houses and there isn't a progression of the provision of parkland, particularly as some of these have a shortfall in an amenity space.
The district park will come over to the council. Will be handed over to the council.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. I have a proposer to take us forward. Do I have a seconder?
Yeah, I second that.
Thank you, Councillor Oswald. All those in favour, please clearly show. That one's unanimously approved. Thank you very much. Item 10, 21 High Street Useley is a minor variation on an approved scheme, and the officer will be concentrating on what the variation is rather than the whole of the scheme.
Thank you, Chairman. This Section 73 application is very straightforward, so I'll not do a full presentation. The proposal seeks consent to vary the approved plans to allow for the subdivision of an approved 2-bed unit, labelled Unit 51, with an increase in its floor plate to create 2 self-contained studio units. I'll just take you through the plans now. So this is the location plan. This is the site constraints. This is the unit in question. I can show you the laser pointer. It was this unit here which has been extended to create 2 separate studio units. The photographs will show how the scheme is progressing to date. The principle of residential use on the site has already been approved under the original consent and no objections have been received. The units would benefit from large windows with good outlook, balconies and a shared amenity of the roof garden. The proposal is considered acceptable in principle and as the changes are internal would cause no harm to the character or appearance of the building or surrounding area. Members will note there has been a slight change to the plans recommended for approval in the addendum. This was purely to tidy up an architectural drafting error. For the reasons summarised, it is recommended that approval be granted. Thank you, Chairman.
Anyone got any issues with this one? Councillor Higgins?
Just want to know, is there any overlooking cross now?
Page 102.
192.
192, sorry. The bottom corner of page 192. Doesn't look like it overlooks anything that I can see. Looks fine? Yep.
Just clarify what existed prior to the extension. You're saying the floor plate's extended. What has been lost then to accommodate that extension?
It's a slight increase in the floor plate. Just to create enough room.
What did we have before?
What was that?
I think the angle of the window itself might.
Preclude.
That's the balcony, though, isn't it? The doors.
Sorry, has this been dealt with in the previous application? Is this something? Yeah, no, I understand that point. But the distances between there, is there been any change in terms of overlooking or windows being added in, or is it the same as the previous?
If I can help, there were balcony privacy screens. It's covered in condition 9. So there are, where you get those kind of little sort of fins that come out that mitigate that. So I know those privacy screens exist on this scheme. So that would have been, yeah.
Okay, apart from that, are we comfortable? I think it's relatively straightforward.
Because now it's 2 apartments. The one where it was just 1 before, is there now a privacy screen between these 2? That's what I'm saying. That's what you're saying. And
they are required to have privacy screens in accordance with
because otherwise someone just looks over it and straight into the
yeah. I get the idea. What's the privacy screens cover? A condition on requiring privacy screens between balconies anyway.
The wording condition 9 requires them as per the previously approved thing. So the point I was basically making is that you've got a screen that covers between the northernmost flat and the adjoining ones. If members were after a screen between the 2, I'm not sure there's actually one required between the divide of the 2 flats. Because that's the point that was being raised.
No, what we're saying is that this was previously 1, now it's 2. So this, let us just look over this.
You'll be able to access right the way through the whole balcony.
You see, because this was formerly
Yeah, so what we need is a condition to ensure that there is a screen between the 2 of them. Sorry.
Right, we're there. Can I move this and take it forward, please? Because I have one more to do. Thank you. Thank you. All those in favour, please clearly show. Thank you. Job done. I now move to agenda item B, which is a hotel. At the airport, even. Whoever's got the hotel.
Thank you, Chairman. This is item 11, land at Cessna Road, Heathrow Airport. The the outline, this is an outline planning application with landscaping the only reserved matter, and it proposes the erection of a 13-storey airport hotel on an open area adjacent to the new Terminal 2 multi-storey car park. I'll just take members through the drawings. This shows you the site constraints, existing site plan. I'll actually just flick through these and show you the CGI elevations here to give you more of an idea. An existing site section, some more sections, proposed site section, which shows you the T2, the car park, and the hotel. And these are the CGIs, which show you how the hotel would look. So you can see, there we go, car park. Okay. In terms of the principle, the subtext of the local plan airport-related policies recognises that hotels and conference facilities may be appropriate if suitable land is available inside the airport boundary. The use proposed will provide a much-needed hotel within the airport boundary, which will be used by airport passengers, including transit passengers who at present would have to leave the airport in a vehicle to go to one of the Bath Road hotels. It is considered that the compromised location of the site within the CTA, together with its irregular shape, would make it unusable for any airport-related purposes. As such, there is no in-principle objection to the proposed development. In terms of impact on the character of the area, the central terminal area is a strongly commercial area which is such a distance to the boundaries of the airport that the buildings within the CTA are only partially seen in long-distance public views from beyond the airfield or outside the airport. Actually, I've just got another drawing, a long view, this one for example, which shows that point actually. The proposed hotel is here. You can see Terminal 2. Hotel, there's some kind of tower there. So as you can see, it's barely visible, and it's actually not the tallest, not the tallest building. You've got taller buildings when you look at the long views. In terms of traffic, the proposed development is actually is a car-free development, with the exception of 9 disabled parking bays which are being proposed. Given the location of the site within the CTA, the fact that people are likely to arrive here either by taxi, bus, tube or aeroplane, a car-free development is deemed acceptable. Furthermore, communal motorcycle parking and a communal cycle store are located under the flyover adjacent to the proposed hotel and will be retained as part of the proposals. Therefore, for the reasons summarised, it is recommended that that approval be granted. Thank you, Chairman.
Views? Looks rather nice, is what I will say. If the CGI's come true, it does look rather nice. Councillor Stead, please.
Thank you, Chairman. Yeah, apart from it initially sort of hitting in your face with the height of it, I think in actual fact, with space so limited over the airport, this is a good use of the space.
Councillor Curling.
Thank you, Chairman. I think this is a good development. It's a good example of what we mean by making Heathrow better and not bigger, and I would propose officers' recommendations.
Oh, so your colleague was too quick for you. Well, I know. I'm guided by members.
I just wanted to ask. It shows the existing site has got a number of parking spaces on it. What are they for? And is that going to be displaced elsewhere? And is it counted as part of the 42,000 cap? Yeah, no. But I'm just interested because this looks as if this is actually reducing parking within the airport. What's it used for?
Those are existing car parking spaces, obviously used to do with Terminal 2. They're not actually being displaced, they're just being moved. So
right.
Some of them are actually the 9 disabled spaces that will be provided there. Right. They're disabled bays. So they're actually just being re-provided. Let me just get that in that location anyway. You can see it on, hopefully you've got a plan here. No, I don't. But they are actually just being re-provided in that location, so they're not being lost.
Okay, Councillor, I do want to move this one because we're running tight now.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just want to know, for people who work there, how are they supposed to travel? We're saying there's no parking facilities. We're going to have a building there with no parking facilities, so how are the people going to get there?
In terms of the back, one of the reasons why we're supporting this is because you've already got a hotel at Terminal 5, which has a similar situation. You've got one at Terminal 4, so now this would be the hotel at the central area, and obviously you've got the tube stations at each. So I'm pretty sure that it's the tube that the people are using to get to work on the other two hotels, and that would apply here. This
supports sustainable public transport, I think, is the answer to the question. All those in favour, please clearly show. Thank you. That one's approved. Thank you very much indeed. 5 to 7.